Okay, welcome to the 16th episode of the Revolutionary Code, where we want to always bring you the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, melanated Black people here in America. I am your host, Brother Tamani Mwandani out of Houston, Texas, and I am the direct revolutionary product of one Cardinal and Bayou Chewy out of the Shrines of the Black Madonna, and the indirect revolutionary product of one Albert B. Clegg, African named Jeramogi Abebe Ajiman, the father of liberation theology and the founder of the Shrines of the Black Madonna. I am also the founder of the Black Gold Nation movement. My co-host, the National Director of Political Strategy and Implementation for the Black Gold Nation movement and the chairman of LACE, Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment, the intellectual gangster and corporate grassroots revolutionary from Shreveport, Louisiana, aka The Boot, Brother Craig B. Lee. Brother Craig, how you doing this evening?
Greetings to everybody, to you and everybody out there in Facebook and Twitter and all social media land. Excellent. Ready to bring you a powerful show tonight.
All right, before we get started this evening, let me tell you a little bit about the Black Gold Nation movement. Our ultimate goal is to put ourselves, our people, in the position by which we can own and or control the environment, because it is our contention, our understanding. History has proven that whenever we allow anybody else, any other group to control our environment, we always find ourselves on the bottom in that environment. Whenever we allow any other group to control any aspect of the systems that exist in that environment, the education systems, political systems, economic systems, agricultural systems, security systems, whenever we allow someone else to control any aspect of a system in our environment, we lose. We always find ourselves on the bottom. So it is our contention that we need to be in control of our space, because it has also been proven time and time again, not only before we got here to America, but since we've been here and we've had the opportunity, that when we have control of the space, not only do we do just fine, but we outperform other people. And of course, they have an issue with that and they destroy what we build. But that does not mean, because they've destroyed the things that we've built, it does not mean we stop trying. That means that we continue to do with more focus on securing what we build, because it's not a matter of if they're going to target it for destruction, but when and how. So with that, we want to ensure that you understand that what we're doing is serious. We're not here to just entertain you or inform you. We're trying to get you to do something. Every single thing we do is about bringing our people together to find the right people so that we can not only inform and educate, but we can also motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. Again, every single thing we do is about bringing our people together so we can find the right people, so we can make some things happen with the focus. The ultimate focus always is building power. So tonight's show's title is Understanding the Six Factions of African Descendants, the Black Panther Party, and what could be with righteous leadership, political power, and the six pillars of empowerment. So, as we have been discussing the outcome of this past election and what little effect presidential politics has on the lives of people on a local level, we want to, of course, also now, moving forward, discuss what does have an effect on the lives of people on a local level. If we know that presidential politics is not the answer for what needs to change in the lives of people on a local level, we need to know if presidential politics is not it, then what is it and how do we go about obtaining it? So we need to understand a few things as relates to who we're looking for, the kind of melanated Black persons we're looking for to work with, what we need that person to do once we find them, examples of what that will look like as far as who came the closest to getting us to where we need to be, and of course what we're up against, and how do we get on that path. So we all know, as we've been saying for the past 15 episodes, that all of our skin folk ain't our kinfolk, but we need to break that down a little further so that people understand exactly what we mean by skin folk. How many different types of skin folk have we categorized, and why aren't they our kinfolk? So in the initial episodes of the Revolutionary Code, we discussed the six factions of African descendants. So that's going to be my first question, Brother Craig, this evening. What are the six factions of African descendants?
Well, as we discussed on a few episodes ago, you have two of the six factions of African descendants in America being Black, that being melanated grassroots Black people, melanated hybrid Black folks who also are blended between the grassroots and also the private and public sector side of the American experience. And then under the Negro side, you have melanated bourgeoisie Negroes, melanated pseudo-bourgeoisie Negroes, melanated grassroots Negroes, and then you have melanated savage Negroes. And these categories are very important factions are very important to understand, because most people are going to connect all of them to being Black based on phenotype, the exoteric external analysis of our skin complexion. And all that is melanin. That's what they call in science phenotype. But the phenotype does not determine Blackness. Blackness is a state of mind of an African descendant anywhere in the world throughout the diaspora. That particular individual that is focused on the liberation, upliftment, and advancement, empowerment of our people. So just because you're melanated doesn't mean that you're Black. Right. If that were the case, Reverend Cleage is light skinned, and Clarence Thomas is highly melanated, and Clarence Thomas is more connected to David Duke, and Reverend Cleage, with his affiliation with Malcolm X, was right in alignment. So some of our most revolutionary Black people have been lighter than both you and I. So that's why we know that is a state of mind. John Brown, who was part European descendant, was more Black than 99% of the people who consider themselves to be revolutionary. Right. So we're talking about a state of mind, and it is very important that we understand that terminology, because one of the things that didn't happen in the 60s with the so-called Black Power movement, the term Black was never clearly defined. And that's why you had so many people able to infiltrate by working with the FBI, CIA, and the other intelligence agencies and law enforcement.
This is a question that just popped into my head when you made that statement. Not having clearly defined what Black is, and of course we define it as both phenotype, how you physically look, you're having melanin, as well as your state of mind.
That's right.
Do you think if we had those definitions during the civil rights and Black Power movements, would that have been enough, or would we have also needed what you talked about, the 3 R's: resume, references, and receipts? Would you?
You have to have all of it. It's not. Always remember, to anybody who is listening tonight, we do not live in a one-dimensional world. This is a multi-dimensional reality. So, yeah, you would need to understand the different factions that exist under the category of African descendants, but you would also need, yes, the resume, references, and receipts, and you need skills, you need education, you need knowledge, you need understanding of subject. I mean, you have to be a major intellectual entity to deal with this particular game that we're in. If you're just dealing with this on a one-dimensional, exoteric level, there is no way that you'll be able to understand that. And to that point, Brother Tamani, and I know we're going to get into different things tonight, talking about the Black Panther Party. I don't know if you ever heard their 10-point platform before.
Yep.
But I just want to read a few of these just to show you. And I love the inspiration and what they were trying to do. But I want you to listen to what they created and some of their influences, within that overall dynamic. But here's their 10-point platform. Listen to this. We want. You already messed up, right? You already messed up. We want freedom. And in the same point, but another sentence. So I guess this is point 1.1 of the 10 points. We want, listen to this, power to determine the destiny of our Black community. White folks looking at that in 1966, they're like, we know that they're crazy, okay? So you're already dealing from idealism and romanticism right there. I get it, but that's not how you go about leveraging power or freedom. It's not about what you want, it's what you're willing to take.
Yep.
You see, the white man can't give you power that he has. He's not going to do that. No enemy is going to do that. And your freedom has to be taken. They say we want, listen to this, full employment for our people.
Yes, sir.
That right there, bro, is totally delusional. When was the last time that we've had full employment in this country for African descendants?
Slavery.
Exactly. So right there, they didn't even understand the concept of capitalism, but guess what they were focused on? One of their influences was, they were influenced by the Communist Party, the Socialist Party, the Marxism. They were being influenced by all these philosophers.
That's right.
Who ain't did a goddamn thing but sit up and ponder thoughts. Ain't never put nothing together, but they pondered thoughts, romanticized, right?
Yep.
And so these cats were about the business of doing some things, but they got caught up into it. We want, listen to this, an end to the robbery by the capitalists of our Black community. So right there in those three things, you want all these things. So what did I tell you that Black folks really want? They want white folks to stop.
To love them.
They want them to love them. It ain't gonna happen. Face it. And they finally figured it out, but it was too late at the end. And that's when they started to transition into really being focused on creating a Black political party. Because on the front end, what they were talking about was strictly about idealistic socialism. And there's some more that we're going to get into, but I just wanted to hit on those three.
And that's a good point, brother, because we laugh about it and we joke about it, but it's a serious issue that the Black Panther Party's 10-point program is probably the oldest Black agenda that I've seen, and I've seen several since then. But from that plan to now, Black people are still doing the same thing. We're still saying the same thing. I sent you a message, and we had a conversation a week or so ago. There's a brother who has a political party, wants to join forces with us, and we were looking at his demands, and it's like Black people are still demanding something from people who will never give you what you want. We don't understand power, and we have no power to demand anything from anybody.
Exactly.
So you're talking about a pseudo solution. It's a waste of time.
Waste of time.
And I was thinking about that today when I was driving up to Austin. I listened to the 1972 panel discussion we talked about last week, and it's I was thinking that, well, when I was listening to Imamu, Amir Baraka, Leroy Jones?
Amir Baraka with one of his names.
One of his names, yeah. I was thinking, well, maybe they lay out their 10-point program, their Black agenda, whatever we call it. Maybe they lay it out that way so that Black people will understand what they want from the system. It's still a bad way to go. Maybe that's why they do it that way, so Black people will understand what they're on.
Nah, hell no. No, because look at another one of the items. We want all Black men to be what? Exempt
from military service. Yes, sir.
Bruh.
and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Where did y'all get this from? First and foremost, Negroes of that time were going to fight you against that. Why? Because one of the only employment opportunities they had was what?
U.S. military.
But again, when you really think about this, my homeboy, and I love him dearly, Huey P. Newton, when he connected with Bobby Seale, they were in college, man.
Yes, sir.
They were in college. Listen to me. They were just reading some damn books, man. They were in college. They had no practical experiences of dealing with this gigantic monster in the form of the architects, engineers, and managers of the system, philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy. So I give them a triple plus.
Yes, sir.
For effort.
Yep.
But when you really break this thing down, and of course the number one thing that they were focused on, they got sidetracked with the gunplay, and this came from them reading a book by a brother named Negroes with Guns.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is reading the damn book. No practical experience.
No practical applications, right?
So this brother named Rob Williams, listen to his quote. I advocated violent self-defense. Okay, let's stop right there. The brother didn't even know what self-defense was. Okay, they didn't even know what self-defense was. And at the end of the day, you now attach violence with self-defense. So we already talked about that. Mm-hmm. Because I don't really think you can have a defense against violent races and against terrorists unless you're prepared to meet violence with violence. And my policy was to meet violence with violence. So what ends up happening to Brother Williams? He comes out of the Marines mindset, and he probably, when we talk about the spook that sat by the door, he was probably one of those individuals who helped to inspire that. But I can promise you, the 10 points that they were talking about, if you thought even then you were going to meet the violence of the United States government with some guns and get some change, brother, you were very delusional.
Right.
Very delusional.
And that's also a part of the problem now. And we talked about this earlier today. Our people thinking that the training they are doing, although it's good to know how to work as a group, how to defend yourself, possibly defend your community, they think that's going to be enough to push back against any serious military force. And it's unfortunate because they don't seem to understand, what you are really up against. I had a brother send me a video a few months ago that he was extremely proud of because it showed him and his partners doing movements and firing weapons and I watched it, Brother Craig, for about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And I pointed out like 6 or 7 things. I sent it to Harlan. He's like, is this a joke? I sent it to, at that time, Sister Mayasa, who has extensive law enforcement experience. She was like, what are these guys doing? They're playing paintball. But they thought, the brother that sent to me really thought that he was doing something. I'm like, and then after I pointed all that stuff out, then he goes on to say, yeah, we got some work to do. But see, had I not known that, he would have continued to brag about what they were doing, which is sad and unfortunate because you're going to mess around and run up against somebody who's really been training.
Exactly, bro.
You know, it's going to be too late then. So like Sister Fabu said, they did what they could do at the time because they didn't know any better. You know, they were young, they were learning, they were trying to do something because they didn't have the training. And that's one of the reasons why we're talking about them in particular this evening. Because although they didn't have the full or complete picture, you know, they were on the right path. So can you share with us some of the things that they were doing or that they realized that placed them on that path, and what that path was, where were they headed before they got?
Well, so when they began, as we've gone through some of their 10-point platform, that was very idealistic and romantic, but they did understand some aspect of the public policy making process. But again, you know, as I always ask the question of all the members, can you build a house from the roof down?
Right.
So they were focused on the higher levels of government, state and federal, before they did anything local. And their primary objective at that time was agitation. And again, we don't live in a one-dimensional world. We live in a multi-dimensional, multifaceted, you know, highly complex world.
Yep.
And so they went at this basically, especially at the state level, you could just pretty much liken the state level to the wall of a structure, you know, the walls of a house.
Mm-hmm.
The roof is the federal government. The foundation is local government.
Right.
They weren't focused on the foundation. They were focused initially on the walls and the roof without any foundation. So they agitated. They did some great things as it relates to projects. You know, most people focus on the free breakfast, free lunch type deals they were doing. That's very important and good. They had a freedom school for those young students, but then they had something that created the first of its kind in the United States, and that was free health clinic.
Yes, sir.
So they launched that, but that got overshadowed based on the gunplay.
Yeah, everything got overshadowed because of the gunplay.
It did. Everything got overshadowed based on the gunplay. So that ended up becoming a public policy initiative that they're not really given credit for. But the health clinics, you know, definitely one of their big things. When they you know, researched California law, and they saw where they could carry weapons in a particular manner, they knew all of the details of that law, and that shocked. You know, they were really into shock value to recruit people into the movement. So I get it. You know, man, there's some bad Negroes there, boy.
And but who's that sound like today?
Oh, the same folks. The Black Lives Matter, all of these groups of today.
I'm talking about that shock value with the weapons. Who's doing that today?
Oh, that's Master Day or whatever.
The NFAC.
Same thing.
Right. The exact same thing.
So if it didn't work then, but what does that show you? Our people do not research and study.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, okay, let me trivia quiz question right now for some of our followers. Who did the Black Panther Party for self-defense borrow their logo from? Where did they get the Black Panther logo from? Where did they get that from?
I got it from Lowndes County.
There you go. Go ahead, brother. But the mic's on it.
That's my Xavier project.
The Lowndes County, I think, Democratic, the Lowndes County Panther.
That's right.
Party or something.
That's right.
Exactly. The Lowndes County Freedom Organization.
There it is.
And the Lowndes County Freedom Organization was created because they were not being treated fairly by who, Mike? The Democratic Party. Whoa!
Now that then you tie in Fannie Lou Hamer. Well, I'm going somewhere else with it. Okay, but yeah.
Exactly. Because this is where Fannie Lou Hamer and those powerful individuals come in down in Alabama, Mississippi area. But this is where they get the Panther from. So remember now, Lowndes County Freedom Party politics, Fannie Lou Hamer had her political party. All of them came under the Democratic umbrella, but they were pushing because they saw that the Democratic Party was not representing their interests. So here's the piece that the Panthers figured out. They saw that was not going to work. Neither one of them were going to work under the Democratic Party. So they came and started pushing for what? A third party for Black representation.
That's right.
Sounds kind of like what Ice Cube was saying.
Sure.
In order to get your agenda, okay? So we're talking 54 years ago, they were talking this. And they went on and put it in place. But again, they came with the gunplay piece, and it overshadowed a lot of the good things that they were actually doing. But they had some good programs in place, and finally, by the end of their, you basically say about a it wasn't really long period of time. You say about 3 to 4 year run. Round about the early 70s. That's when they figured it out, but they were already.
It was too late by then. Yeah. COINTELPRO kicked in.
Exactly, but Bobby Seale ran for mayor of Oakland, and they had some of the other Panthers running for city council. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They started with the damn walls and the roof, and by the time they figured out what I figured out coming in the door, it was too late. But they started to try to build a foundation.
Right.
And they went away from just agitation, and they understood we got to now create some policy.
Right.
And they weren't going to create policies at the state and the federal level, but they could do it where?
Locally.
At the goddamn local.
And you know, Brother Craig, that's a very, very, very good point, because as I say in almost all of our presentations, we have studied the movements and the leaders of the past so we can build upon their successes, but plug those gaps, fill those holes, and not make the same mistakes. It is obvious. We can look at people who are walking around with guns. We can look at people who are talking about reparations. We can look at people who are talking about freedom papers with a sovereign status. It's obvious that they have not studied what other people have tried to do, because what they're trying to do isn't new. And the exact same things that people today are doing has been tried and did not work. But of course, our people don't know that. So here we go again with another Black person who's eloquent, is charismatic, speaks well, and we all over it because we don't have, and we're gonna get to the 6 pillars. We don't have that very critically important educational piece, that third pillar. And that's why we keep getting duped by people who speak well, charismatic, because we don't know about these movements and what's happened in the past, which is an issue. So as a
let me say this to the point you just made, and that's where the African proverb comes in: be skilled in speech, so you will succeed the tongue of a man is his sword, and effective speech is stronger than all fighting. It don't say you have to be skilled in righteous speech. It don't say you have to be a righteous person. It just says be skilled in speech.
Yep.
And that's where Master J and others come up with that. And speech, not just oratorical skills, but also writing, the written word, very important. And when you don't get that, now what'll happen, you'll make a point like this, and I'll be going through the points as we talk. But when you just said education, you're not even ready for this. We want education for our people. You're not even ready for this. That exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in present day society. So again, we don't not only want white folks to stop being evil, we want them to be equal. We want them to share all the money, but we want them to, God damn it, we want you to tell the lie.
And that again, I was listening to that 1972 panel discussion that we discussed last Saturday for the movie review, and when they got to the issue of busing, should we, Reverend Klieg and the brother from, I think, CORE, they both said that is absolutely ridiculous. It's offensive. And this goes to the mentality and thinking of integrationists. Yeah. Why would you want to bus your kids to a hostile environment to receive an education that's already inferior, as opposed to creating your own educational system?
Crazy.
But that is what we do, because we don't see the value and strength within ourselves, because we've accepted the white man's myth of Black inferiority. We believe that the only way we're going to have anything that's worthwhile, that's good, that's equal, is to go to the white man and get it.
Exactly.
And that's sad, because that was 1972. All right. Okay.
All
right. So we also talked about earlier today the significance of Fred Hampton as a young Black Panther and what he was trying to do. Now, I was thinking that maybe Fred Hampton was more of a melanated hybrid grassroots Black than Huey or Bobby Seale, but maybe not. Would you say that they were all three the same kind of Black person? They were all the same?
Huey was probably the most gangster of them, intellectual gangster of them all, because they represented the Louisiana crew. Huey, Fred Hampton, Geronimo Pratt, and that's kind of not by happenstance. You understand the Great Migration from the South, from Louisiana. Most of our people, when they left Louisiana, they headed west, Texas, going over to California, in particular, LA, Oakland, Richmond. So most of those folks who have made major things happen in that area came from Shreveport, especially North Louisiana, Monroe. So you get that whole dynamic. And so the Panthers were an extension of that talent that left. So Huey probably was more in terms of the actual leadership on that level. But all three of them, yes, were very idealistic, very romantic, and philosophical, based on other people's concepts that were going on in their particular country. But I will say this: Fred was very charismatic. He could mobilize and organize people because he had worked as a youth leader with the NAACP.
That's right.
Before he came on board
Right.
With these guys. So he understood how to navigate. But all three of them were idealistic in their pursuit of that 10-point platform. However, again, they ended up figuring it out at the tail end. Fred Hampton was not allowed to live that long because he was early 20s when they took him out.
21.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, the brother was very powerful and on point as relates to his foresight into certain things and hitting at the core issue.
Yeah, that's a good point that I didn't think about, because I've never heard any Panther, to be honest with you, other than Fred Hampton talking about mobilizing and organizing different groups of people on the grassroots level.
Yeah.
So that must have come from the NAACP.
That was part of his influence.
Yeah, coupled with the Black Panthers, because I've never heard any other Panther talk about it that way. So would you say would that be the most significant thing that made Fred Hampton different? He understood mobilizing and organizing people on the grassroots level as opposed to just one group?
Well, Stokely, Kwame Ture talked about that more specifically with grassroots Black folks and grassroots, melanated grassroots Negroes. They spoke about it in particular there, but when you go back and you look at what Bobby Seale and Huey P were talking about, Black power for Black people, red power for red people, white power for white people.
That's right.
So it was within the dynamic of that. So I will say that he definitely got certain things from the NAACP with a twist of grassroots revolutionary spirit from the guys that he had gotten connected to.
Gotcha. Okay. If you missed the intro and you logged in late, you are listening to the Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, melanated Black people here in America. Tonight's show is our 16th episode, and it's titled "Understanding the Six Factions of African Descendants, the Black Panther Party, and What Could Be with Righteous Leadership, Political Power, and the Six Pillars of Empowerment." My name is Tamani Mwandani. I'm the founder of the Black Gold Nation Movement, and my co-host is Brother Craig B. Lee, the National Director of our Political Strategy and Implementation Department. Brother Craig, as it relates to the Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton, what they were trying to do, you said that you said more than once, when they began to figure it out, it was too late. And the it is, you can't build a house from the roof down, which means you got to start on the local level. Once they figured that out, COINTELPRO, the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover had already kicked in. They were already being dismantled, exiled, incarcerated, and assassinated, correct?
That's one aspect of it,
okay,
which is the important thing.
Yep.
But the other part, they figured out that they could not just agitate the issues away. They had to get into the political position.
Did you say agitate?
Yeah, agitate.
Agitate, okay, I got you.
Yeah, because like you just think about a washer. When you go to wash clothes,
mm-hmm.
you the process is that the clothes, there's a process of agitation that cleans the clothes. But what do you need as the clothes are being agitated? You need some damn washing powder.
Some detergent, yeah. Right.
Depending on if you're using washing white. So what is the washing powder? Or what is the detergent? What is the bleach? What is the cleaning solution? And so the cleaning solution, they figured it out. We can't just agitate. We got to agitate, and we got to also gain access to these political offices.
Right.
Because that's where you got to make the policy. You don't stop agitation, but you now got to get in office. So again, we're not dealing with a one-dimensional situation. We're dealing with a multi-dimensional reality.
Right.
And so they were able to figure it out, but I say it was too late because when they brought the gunplay in,
that changed everything.
That was a wrap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And look, here's another idealistic platform, and let's see if this one still continues today. We want
yes
an immediate end to what? Police brutality and murder of Black people.
Yeah.
54 years later, what do we want?
Defund the police. Yeah, same thing. And I can only conclude, brother, that their position was their position, as well as other Black people at that time and Black people today. Black people today are still saying to white people, we want, we demand, we're old, blah, blah, blah. So that has to be a lack of understanding of the philosophy, the system, and the game of capitalistic white supremacy and racism. Because if you understood the philosophy, if you understood the system and you understood the game, then your Black agenda would never start with what you want from them or what you demand for them or what they owe you, because you would know it's not going to come that way. Power doesn't work that way.
And look, that gets to the next point, and we'll get. I'm gonna tie this in to the Constitution, because I'm gonna go to this one next. It says we want all Black people. Listen to this: when brought to trial, to be tried in court by a jury of their peer group or people from their Black community. Listen to this: as defined by the Constitution of the United States. The goddamn Constitution don't say a goddamn thing about you being tried by your peer group coming from Black folks, okay?
Yep.
That's not what that says. Now, but I wanted you to focus on them referencing the Constitution, because now we're gonna go back to the point that they made before that one. You're not even ready for this. We want freedom for all Black men. They don't even say Black females, you know. I know it wasn't that many at that time, but it should have been Black people held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. They wanted everybody out of goddamn jail now. Even the murderers, the rapists.
Even the ones that should be there.
Okay, now, that's what shows you they didn't even understand the Constitution, although they referenced the Constitution in the next deal, because what prevented that from happening? What article prevented that from happening? What amendment?
That prevented what from happening?
We want freedom for all Black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jail.
The 13th Amendment?
Huh?
The 13th?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the 13th Amendment allows for what?
Prison.
Exactly. To keep your ass in what?
Slavery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that tells you they didn't even understand what they were saying, although they referenced the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So I know as intelligent as those brothers were, they had to have studied the Black Code.
Mm-hmm.
They had to have seen that.
Sure.
Okay. But they were still saying that this is what they want, which is not going to happen, because that would mean the complete destruction of the system of capitalist white supremacy. And they had already shown what they were willing to do in terms of dropping the bomb on Japan.
That's right.
The Vietnam War. Yep. They had already shown what they were all about. And they demonstrated very clearly how they looked at us as brothers went off to the war and came back. World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War. You came back to third, fourth, fifth world status,
right,
after having fought for this particular society.
Right. I was reading a quote that Muhammad Ali made, and the gist of it was, what sense does it make for me to go off and fight your war to oppress other poor people of color when I got to deal with your oppression right here in America? So, and it's interesting, Brother Craig, and it's unfortunate then, but it's sad now because it's 45, 50 years later. It's unfortunate then that they didn't fully understand the scope of what they were dealing with, or feasible solutions. And it's sad now because we still haven't learned from that. Like we said when we watched that panel discussion from 1972, if you upgrade the technology and upgrade the wardrobe, Black people are still talking about the same things and still doing the same things because we ain't learned nothing yet. We still don't fully understand how this thing works, or how to combat it. And that goes to my next question. So is it safe to say that they're not just understanding the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy and racism? Is it also safe to say that they lacked the 6 pillars of empowerment?
Oh, without a doubt.
So really,
yeah.
Really quickly, give us, tell us what the 6 pillars are, so that people will know what we're talking about.
The 6 pillars of empowerment, the structural, or should I say the infrastructure that needs to be in place within an individual and within the community in order to attain empowerment. And those 6 pillars are spirituality, right culture, education, economics, socioeconomics, and politics. And without, especially the first 3, you can forget economics, socioeconomics, and politics, because in order to eradicate the Eurocentric cancer that is in the mind of 99.5% of our people,
yes, sir,
you gotta have spirituality and right culture to detoxify your mind. And you gotta have right culture in order to program you to start living, breathing, talking, acting, every aspect of your daily essence in the mind of a righteous African descendant who is Black in this society. So the Panthers definitely lacked that, because there was a lot of negative things that happened inside of the Panthers, mm-hmm. with the female. You know, there were rapes that went on. There were all kinds of negative things, yep. that happened. And that's a byproduct of not having spirituality and right culture. And there's no way that that's going to stand. And then your third eye is not working, so you can't see the setup. I'm looking at a document right here from the FBI, dated April the 8th, 1969. And I'm looking at Elaine Brown's name on there, Joe Brown, several other names. But the reason I bring this document up is because the number 8 and the number 12 person, okay, the number 8 and the number 12 person and their criminal cases, all blotted out, called redacted. You know, that's what they do when they blot it out. Now, here's the question. Next trivia quiz to you and anybody out there. Why, if you got 13 names on this FBI list, why are 2 names and their criminal cases, why are they blotted out? Why are they redacted?
They were informants, family members connected to, still in the system, still part of the game, blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do not want you to know they were informants, correct, Sister Fabu, and they have family members who are still on the payroll today. You understand? This is how cold-blooded this guy. These people were right next to these guys.
Yep.
Just like with Malcolm X's head of security was undercover FBI informant and a damn New York police officer.
And Fred Hampton's head of security was also an informant.
Okay.
Yeah.
But listen, man, if you see that spirituality, it gives you the power to be like Captain Kirk and Spock when they were beaming down to those goddamn planets. You know, you can beam into an evil person's existence.
Yeah.
You can beam into the thoughts of your enemy, but only if you're spiritually and culturally rooted. You're not gonna do it any kind of way. Hell, the Nation of Islam, they put a dude, John Muhammad. He was their damn national secretary and was working for the damn Fed. That's the power of spirituality, not religiosity,
right?
But spirituality. Because you ain't got to pay no damn spirituality. You just got to be put the time in.
That's right.
To unlock, unleash, and activate it within you.
All right. So where did the Panthers stop? And where do we pick it up and take it to the next level? Where did they stop? And at what point do we pick it up and take it to the next level? And what is that next level?
They stopped running for office.
Okay.
That's where they stopped.
All right.
Because Bobby Seale lost to Jerry Brown, who went on to become mayor and governor multiple times in California. And that's where they stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So where we pick up the baton is now with the BGN platform game plan that we have in terms of the takeover of those 4 land masses, the villages, the towns, small cities, mid-sized cities, where you have majority population for African descendants in America. The mobilization organization under our game plan that hits on all of these particular levels and areas of government, entrepreneurship, economics, all of these particular areas, because not just one person, no one person can do this, no 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
This has to be a consolidated effort.
Yep.
With an agenda in each city where you now recruit grassroots hybrid and grassroots Black folks to get in this game and begin the process of mobilizing and organizing in each one of these particular areas.
Right. And it's also unfortunate that once they started to realize how all this stuff worked, again, it was too late because of COINTELPRO and the FBI and whatnot. And that's where they stopped, which is running for office. And that's where we pick up, because we not only want to run for office, but we want to run for office on a local level and control 4 different geographic types of geographic spaces in the country. And it's unfortunate that we have so many groups that are still at the point. Hell, we have so many groups that haven't even gotten to the point where the Black Panthers stopped, because a lot of our people don't even believe in voting.
Exactly.
A lot of our people are completely missing the whole local political power picture, and are putting all of their eggs in the presidential politics basket, not understanding that presidential politics don't affect you on a local level, which is why. Say again.
Very minute level.
Exactly, which is why it's so important that if we want to have the kind of influence, the kind of power that we deserve and need politically, that's why we got to form our own political party, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so how do we go about doing that? If we know the Panthers, where they stopped at running for office, that's where we pick up. Of course, we're adding to that an understanding of the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy and racism. We're adding to that, plus the 6 pillars. We're adding to that, how do we also form our own political party so that we can be major players in this political game?
Before I answer that, there's a statement here that is in the FBI paperwork of the Panthers. Listen to this. Freedom is a right to control your destiny. Separatists, what does it say? Yes, separatism and integration often have been used as tools of the white man to dominate the black. Yeah. This was something that was stated in this brother's dossier. I thought that was very interesting to point out.
Who's that person?
This was Jose Rene. Can't read the last name, but this was document that they were referencing this cat Melvin Jones, and I'll have to send it to you.
Okay.
But they break everything down.
What were they talking about? They talking about the Panthers? What were they talking about?
Yeah, various. Oh. This is intel that was gathered on different Panthers.
Oh, I got you. Okay, all right.
And documentation, and very, very, very interesting in terms of how they laid it out. But as it relates to what we have to do now in each city where we have legitimate grassroots people who are willing to link up with BGN, they plug in, if they haven't already started the process of doing any political work, they tap into us. My job is to then educate them as it relates to what they have to begin to do it on a small scale to gain some small victories in their local territories. Because again, this is very complex, dangerous, serious work that has to be done. And you're doing multiple things, because on top of the grassroots work, you still have to become an entrepreneur.
Yep.
There's no way to get around that, because you still have to be able to eat, take care of your bills, your family, and things of that nature. So you're doing two things, generating resources as an entrepreneur, then working on the grassroots level. They tap into us, I teach them the process, and that's how we begin. Sister Fabu said, why is it dangerous? Because anytime you're trying to go against the system that has held people in captivity for over 400 years, and they can extrapolate this system 97% of $1.5 trillion a year. Anybody that is seriously focused on enlightening those people to stop doing that, stop them, reduce the number of people going to jail, reduce the number of murders, you become a threat. And when you become a threat, you got to get a cat bust in your ass.
Yep.
Martin Luther King said it best: the man who is not willing to die for something ain't fit to live. So this is not play. I let people know this all the time. Do not come here trying to gain some popularity, whatever. Trust me, your ass is going to become very popular.
with the wrong in crowd.
You're going to become very popular when you start to, speak out on these issues and do certain things. So you don't have to seek it, it's going to come. But you better be ready when it comes, because they ain't playing no game.
And it is coming.
They're going to go after your job. They'll go after your wife's job. I mean, they will touch you. They will come and touch you. And that's the first place they're going to touch you, is your income. And so I just prepare people. We got the case examples of what they will do. Malcolm, Martin, what's our brother in Mississippi, Mega Everett, they will put the pressure on you and create dissension in your home.
Yep.
So I just prepare people to understand these are things that you have to sacrifice. So yes, linking up with us, Brother Tamani, to get the training. So it's not our job to go and give free training to entities who are out there believing that they're going to put a gun club together and liberate themselves. I'm not mad at any of those cats, but none of that is going to make any difference about anything.
Right.
And the amount of time that some of these people are putting into going to the goddamn gun range, buying all these goddamn, there's people who got goddamn 55 guns and not one goddamn book. And that's the number one damn gun that you need. You need to start putting something in your damn head.
You would think, and that is also proof of our people not fully understanding that this is a multidimensional game. If you think that we need to just focus on one thing, be that weapons training and security, be that religiosity, be that economics, be that agriculture, be that spirituality, you are wrong. We don't have the luxury of focusing on one thing at a time. We got to focus on all this stuff at the same time, move below the radar and mobilize and organize with the grassroots as rapidly as possible. Otherwise, we all screwed. So last two questions, Brother Craig. What do you say, since you just talked about the importance of having our own political party? And maybe on a future episode, we can go into a little more detail as to exactly how we could do that. But what do you say to the people who say, well, that's what Ice Cube and Puffy are doing? They're trying to form their own political party right now.
Yeah, so it's real simple. I mean, Ice Cube said it best when he was on Roland Martin. He's just an entertainer.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer / business person. And again, I'm proud that he stepped up and offered their version of a Black agenda. So I have no qualms with that. But this is 24/7, 365 work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not part-time. This is not flex time. This is not remote time work. This is full time.
Yes, sir.
Real deal work on that particular end. And so there's no way that a person who is focused on entertainment would be able to put together a political party and do all of the necessary things. Because when Roland Martin asked him why had he not worked on this a year or 2 years ago, hell, I already knew the answer to that. He's a goddamn entertainer.
Yeah.
So the question is, Roland, why haven't you put something together? Where was the NAACP's plan, the Urban League's plan? So at least you step to the table with that. But for those people who would say Puffy and Ice Cube, just like we don't know a goddamn thing for the most part, even though I brought out a few albums in the past, that's not my lane. Mm-hmm. So they're professionals in that lane. They know the music business. We know the empowerment, grassroots, revolutionary business. You don't go to a damn plumber for a brain surgery. You don't go to a goddamn pharmacist when you want to have some work done on your car that's highly mechanical.
Right.
You deal with the people who have the expertise in those particular areas. And Ice Cube is not that individual. Puff Daddy is not. None of those entertainers are in that particular ballgame.
All right, last question, brother. Good answer, by the way. Last question. So we know what we're doing in the Black Gold Nation movement. We know what we're doing has never been done before. That's why we're doing it. We know that people who've come before us who've tried to do some things had some missing pieces, didn't understand the whole dynamic of the game, didn't have the 6 pillars. We know that. Can you give us, with this last question, can you give us some examples of some Black people who were in political positions of power, and either did some things that was on the right track or had the opportunity to do some things they didn't fully understand the position that they were in?
Well, I'm always, whenever I'm asked that question, I always point to the best working case example in American history, and that is the city of Atlanta, Georgia,
yeah.
where just 46 years ago, 1974, that Maynard Jackson was elected to the office as the first mayor. So all of the development that you see in Atlanta today, only 46 years old, and you had a brilliant brother who has Georgia and Louisiana pedigree, who got in office with some very intelligent, brilliant bourgeoisie Negroes and grassroots Negroes and grassroots Black people, and they created the best working case example. The second best example I point to is Marion Barry in Washington, D.C. From Arkansas, elevated, maneuvered in Washington, and though he got caught up in a federal probe that took him down, and he lost his mayorship based on it, he was able to come back based on the fact that he had done so much in the grassroots community. And it was at that point that the federal government influenced the local leadership to then put a control board in place to strip the mayor and the council of a lot of their power.
Yeah.
Because, you know, DC is not a state and whatnot. They don't have any real control. So the federal government provides oversight. So when they said them Negroes didn't denounce him, and they re-elected him, it was like, nah, bro, y'all might start to really figure this thing out.
Yeah.
So they went on and shut that down and put a control board in place. And of course, I always have to give props to Dutch Moriel, who first Black mayor of New Orleans and the father of my good partner, Mark Moriel, who is the national president for the Urban League. And he was my political handler or trainer, if you will, when I was a freshman at Xavier University. Dutch Moriel set in place, in motion, for some major Black progression to happen in New Orleans with our 3 HBCUs, and he was maneuvering to make things happen. Mark came in and did some things as well, but the piece that's always been missing in all of those situations, that grassroots hybrid Black person, that individual is the only individual who is going to really be able to provide the equity for the grassroots community, because the bourgeoisie Negro, pseudo-bourgeoisie Negro ain't gonna do it. They got the degrees, the pseudo-education and whatnot, but they do not have the spiritual, cultural, and educational foundation to deliver equity to our people. And that's, again, the importance of the Black Gold Nation, the movement that we've started and what we are working to build with our organization.
All right, brother. That is right on point. We're a bit over, but I had to get those last two questions in. So before I give you the last words, I want to make sure that we don't have anyone who's joining us via Zoom. Make sure they don't have any questions. So does anybody who's with us via Zoom, does anyone have any questions for Brother Craig Lee before we close this thing out? Any questions for Brother Craig at all from anybody? Any questions going once, going twice? All right, Brother Craig, it is on you to give us your closing statement, and then I'll do mine, and we'll be done.
Yeah, we just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We did a post wrap up of last week's election at Tuesday morning breakfast. This week we had a very lively discussion, and now young people are starting to gain some interest. So we're about to have a very big Tuesday morning breakfast coming up on November the 17th, which is my 53rd Life Day. So it's going to be a lively discussion here in Shreveport, Louisiana, about the future of Shreveport and about the upcoming 2022 and 2023 elections as we prepare to do this grassroots takeover. So I encourage all of you to get involved in your local communities, link up with Black Gold Nation, and start to learn some of these very important things, because we have 5 years to leverage a few $1 million, no less than $500,000, and convert it into some land, some silver, some cryptocurrency, these things that we're going to need moving into the 21st century. While I am an advocate for self-defense and protecting yourself with guns and whatnot, do not get caught up in spending too much goddamn time on joining goddamn all these things and spending 50 hours and whatnot. You need to learn the things that you need to learn, and that's one small part. We need to know it, but we don't need to get focused on it. We got to get focused on the things that's going to allow us to take over land masses and compete in the 21st century. And again, you need resources just to buy the goddamn bullets, goddamn. And you need resources to create an ammunition manufacturing facility so your people can have ongoing bullets. If you just got a goddamn gun and you ain't got no damn bullets, what good is the damn gun? And these are things that our people just don't think about, just basic practical things. Yep. So we got to be focused on those aspects. And because I damn sure don't be trying to waste all my goddamn bullets at the range. I need to hold some of them shit. I practice when I'm busting caps in somebody.
Okay. And with that, we want to make sure that again, this is a multi-dimensional reality that we're living in. We can't afford to just focus on one thing. Of course, being able to defend yourself, your family, your property is extremely important. And being able to work, fight, maneuver as a group is extremely important. But there's so much more that we also need to be doing as we're doing that. Again, we don't have the luxury of doing one thing at a time. So if you want more information about the Black Gold Nation movement, you can always send me an email at theblackgoldnation@gmail.com, theblackgoldnation@gmail.com. If you want to know more about the movement, or if you want to be a part or help us with the 100 city tour, I was in Austin and San Antonio today. I have some local activity in Houston tomorrow that I'm on the road headed to Dallas and a few other places next week. We are actively going to 100 cities to identify Black people on the ground, in the community, on the grassroots level, who want to do something so we can show them how to do it. Like Brother Craig said, we want to find the right people so we can train them to understand where the Panthers stopped, where we need to pick that up, and what we need to do. We need to train them so they understand what the Panthers did not understand, what our previous movements have not understood, also what our current movements are still doing, because they don't have the understanding that we have, which is what the Panthers and these other movements did not have. So it's very important that we find people who are ready, willing, and able to do, but who are also open enough to realize that they don't have all the answers and maybe they need some better guidance and direction. So that is what we are. That's what we're trying to do. So if you want to support us in that endeavor, go to our events website, blackgold-wakandarising.com, find your city and register. If you want to support us financially, we have a GoFundMe. Just go to gofundme.com, type in Black Gold Nation, it'll pop up. So with that, as I said in the beginning, please understand and remember that we are not here to just inform and educate. We're trying to get you to do something. We want to form, inform, educate, mobilize, organize, and build. Because like Brother Craig said, at the end of the day, if we're not controlling some land masses in America and everything that goes with that land, the institutions, the roads, the sewer, blah, 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 we are going to become a permanent underclass. So if you want to be a part of that effort and you want to be a part of a movement that's serious about what needs to happen to liberate and save Black people, then we are, of course, that movement. Brother Craig?
Hey, one last thing, homework assignment for everybody. I want you all to go on Google tonight and do a Google search for Brother Richard Williams, Rob Williams, and put Negroes with Guns. And y'all really need to read this, because the dude who wrote the goddamn book, Negroes with Guns, talking all this cash shit, he fled the goddamn United States. went to Cuba, then went to China, and had the goddamn Chinese. Let me just read the last part of this as we close out. In 1969, Williams returned to the United States aboard a TW flight chartered by the federal government. I want y'all to listen to this now. All charges against Williams were dropped, and he went on to advise the State Department on normalizing relations with China. Huh? No, huh? Now you working with the huh? I thought you was Negroes with Guns. Williams did not, however, assume leadership of what had become a divided and beleaguered Black Power movement. Instead, Williams accepted a position as a research associate at the Institute for Chinese Studies at the University of Michigan.
Wow.
And he and Mabel, his wife, moved to Baldwin near the university. Stop falling for this goddamn foolishness that these people playing games with you, man. But research that cat, Rob Williams. That's who influenced the Panthers with the guns, and the government broke all their goddamn back. And the ones that they didn't break their back, they put in jail for a long, long time and broke their spirit.
Yeah, and a lot of them are still there. I posted a link, more information about the brother in the book in the chat. And Brother Craig, it's funny that the brother eventually ended up getting a job. You know, because that reminded me of that segment of I'm gonna get you, sucker. When the brother ran into the revolutionary and say, man, I thought, last time I saw you, you guys were gonna go down to City Hall, y'all were gonna take over, y'all were serious. He said, what happened? And the brother said they were hiring. So, it's is that life imitating art? So anyway, it's interesting. All right, so with that, always remember two things. No one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always, always, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of Black people, because if Black people don't make it as a whole, if we don't have enough Black people who want to do something and we're moving toward controlling some space, if our people don't make it, then the individual things that we're trying to do will not matter, because it will get wiped out. Because we do live in hostile territory. We do have enemies and predators, and they are not playing with us. So with that, as always, thank you, Brother Craig, for taking the time. I thank everybody who's on the call on Zoom and watching via Facebook Live as well. So with that, you guys have a wonderful evening. God bless. And I will put the recording on Black Gold Media by tomorrow. So if you want to share this with 100,000 other Black people, it'll be on blackgoldmedia.net, blackgoldmedia.net tomorrow. So with that, God bless you. Have a good evening. Peace.
Thank you, sir.
All right.